Lansing School District Reimagined screen-to-screen instruction plan scheduled for the first marking period of the upcoming school year. We also will share some data based on the student inventory that was executed on yesterday and has now an extended date through July 29th rather than Monday, July 27th. If you have not had an opportunity to complete the inventory, we're asking that you do that as soon as you can. The data that we collect from the inventory will help us to finalize decisions specific to the education that we will be providing to our constituents, which are our students. At this time, I would like to avail the forum to our superintendent, Mr. Sam Sinacropi, just for some words of wisdom and encouragement. Sam?
Good evening, and thank you for attending tonight. And I want to start this meeting like I've started the others today with a short moment of silence for a former administrator of the Lansing School District who passed away yesterday, Dr. Eva Evans, who served as deputy superintendent, assistant principal, and lots of different things. Will we please just bow our heads for just a moment? Thank you. Just as I want to follow up on what Delsa had talked about, it's very important that here to get the questions you have, and we're going to try and answer as many as we can today, and we probably will have more of those as we come along. We're just talking, we're getting lots of FAQs that'll be going on our website and will be available to anyone who wishes. Thank you once again for attending, and remember, your kids and the families in the school district are important to us. It's important that we hear what you have to say. Thank you. Have a good evening.
Thank you, Superintendent Sinacropi. We appreciate that. As we move forward and prepare for this conversation, we want to make sure that we're consistently aware and on the same page and knowledgeable regarding our Lansing School District Reimagined initiative and what the tenets or what the elements of that will be. And at this time, I am asking Dr. Kamala Diaz to share and present an overview of our screen-to-screen plan, if Dr. O'Neill is not, in fact, on the forum this evening.
Dr. O'Neill is here.
Yes, she is.
Hi, Dr. O'Neill. The Lansing School District Reimagined screen-to-screen plan.
Absolutely. Just one second. Okay. So you will see before you, this is a graphic that comes straight out of the My Safe State Start plan that the governor has put out. And within the pandemic, there are 6 different stages that we need to be aware of. The executive order stated that we need to design a plan for each of these phases. In the first 3 phases, we would need to be remote. Phase 4 and 5 will be face-to-face, but different varying levels of precautions. I can show you right now for the state of Michigan, we are 4, which is face-to-face. However, if you will look below, we are, as a city in the Grand Rapids area, we are at a high risk level. So we are actually at a level 2 in the immediate area. And as we gathered the intel to make this decision, our primary concern was our families and our staff. And so it made sense for us to go the first 9 weeks remote. So let me explain what that will look like for you. Okay, so together, collectively, we have decided that we were going to start with a non-traditional opening. Obviously, district-wide, our kids will have one-to-one technology, and it will look much, much different than the continuity of learning plan. So screen-to-screen actually means that the teacher will be facing the child and teaching directly, which is pretty exciting. We have used equitable expectations as a lens for everything that we've decided and everything that we talk about in every avenue, both social emotionally and academically. So we want our learning to be as close as possible as face-to-face. And we're researching ways on how to do that. We will require attendance, so students will need to log in and their attendance will count, and all of the work will be graded with feedback, of course. We still want to wrap around the entire child. We use the holistic approach, which is so important in every one of our missions that we're following through on. So we have digital curriculum tools. We're still going to be able to differentiate, meaning teach whole group, small group, and individual needs. And we will support the social emotional as well. So here's where our community stakeholders come in. We have a very explicit call to action that we need your feedback to get even more specific with the plans. So we definitely have a parent inventory that is still, you're able to click on the link and access, and we just need to have your updated contact info and what you're thinking at this point in time. Would you be interested in going 100% remote all year long? What's your internet like, and do you need a device? And would you be able to self-transport if you needed to? Then we've already reached out to our staff, and we have we found a lot of really exciting data that all of them have started training on their own, and many have expertise in different areas with online technology with delivering instruction, so we will be utilizing all of that. And then we're reaching out to all of our stakeholders. So we have had serious conversations with administrators, all of our instructional staff, and now we're talking to you. So thinking beyond the first marking period, the possibilities, we could continue screen to screen. We could do some type of blended model, which may look like a flex schedule or some in person and some screen, and then we could go back face to face. So we're asking you for your input and the pros and cons of each. Please put in the chat anything that you're wondering about, or if you'd like to make a recommendation, and all of our data will be included in every single decision along with your input, and we will make the entire community proud, I believe. So thank you.
Thank you, Dr. O'Neill. And I failed to, when in introducing Dr. O'Neill, to share what her role is with the Lansing School District. She is currently serving in the role of Equity Gap Specialist. So she works directly with our Director of Elementary Education, Ms. Kim Ray, and our Director of Secondary Education, Mr. Mitch Foster. They collaboratively work together and have a heavy focus on making sure that we provide equitable education to our students. So thank you, Dr. O'Neill. At this time, Dr. O'Neill, if you would stop your screen share, we're going to move into sharing some data. One part of Dr. O'Neill's presentation this evening focused on the fact that we will be data driven. That has already been shown based on the decision that we made to go fully remote, 100% remote. It fully was determined by the data presented and identified Lansing as being a high risk area. We would like to move forward and share some additional data regarding the student inventory and where we are with that. And once again, if you have not been able to complete the inventory, if you did not receive the email in order to take that, please make sure that you email us at covid19@lansingschools.net. You can also reach out to your school administrator. Mr. Kurt Barnum, who is a member of our improvement and innovation team, will share those results and also share some additional means of you being able to have access to the inventory. Mr. Barnum?
Thank you, Dr. Chapman. Good evening, everyone. I'm going to share with you what results we have of the student inventory tonight. We are just over 1,800 responses in, so please finish your inventories. If you did not get the email inviting you to take the inventory, I will explain later in my presentation how to get that from us. So the first question in our inventory is, would you like your child to remain in remote learning for the 2021 school year, even if we are able to return to a face-to-face environment? Yesterday, all day, it was pretty 50-50, but today the yeses have come ahead, and they are at 1,075. So 57% of our families right now would want to stay in a remote learning environment. 47% are saying no. We are asking the question, do you have internet access? This question is focused strictly at access. Are you able to get on the internet? We are aware there are some issues with the number of people that will be accessing the internet at home, and we are working with our scheduling piece to schedule students at different times of the day, so you're not using up the same amount of bandwidth. So right now our responses are 1,764 have internet access, 127 saying no. We are working to get a one-to-one environment, so every one of our students will have a device. So we asked the question, do you need a laptop or Chromebook for your child? Our families have responded, 1,317 said yes, they have a laptop or Chromebook, and 572 have said no. Are you able to transport your child to and from school if necessary? If it is necessary for us to go back to a face-to-face environment, and we have to work around CDC guidelines, we were wondering how many would be able to bring their children to school should we have some problems with transportation. 1,371 are saying yes, they can. 543 are currently saying no. If you did not get the email yesterday, so yesterday we sent the email out to 1 through 12 students, grades 1 through 12. This afternoon we sent it out to all of our preschool and kindergarten families. If you did not get the email, contact your school. They'll be able to provide the information to you that you need to get the survey. You can also check parent view because you'll need the student number in order to complete the survey. If either of those avenues are not available to you, you can always email covid19@lansingschools.net, and we'll be more than happy to help you. And the link is at the bottom here. We will also put it in the chat so you can access it from there. Dr. Chapman?
Thank you, Mr. Barnum, for that update in terms of where we are with our data collection for the student inventory. I did see a very important question or statement actually pop up in the chat, which says, it could very well be that the majority of the responses that we have are from individuals that have access to technology and more specifically to Wi-Fi or to the internet. That is very true. And so as of close of business on July 29th, for every individual that we have not received a response for, we have calling teams that are in place so that we can do reach outs to each and every family in the Lansing School District. It is absolutely imperative that we have a response in respect to all 10,000 plus of our students in the district. And so we do have a plan B, if you will, in place. And that also will be an indication to us to the number of individuals that we will need to support as we move forward with providing the technology device as well as connectivity to the internet. With that being said, we are going to move into sharing a frequently asked questions document. These questions come from the series of forums that we've had thus far. We have categorized them. This is the first of several iterations. So the questions that you're posing in the chat, any of those questions that we do and or do not answer will be also categorized or organized and included in the updated frequently asked question document. Please bear with me as I share my screen for the frequently asked questions. Ooh. Okay, sorry about that. So the very, very, very important question, and the question that was raised very early on, is specific to technology. And that's why that very first question in the inventory, we need an answer in respect to each and every child enrolled in the Lansing School District. Will computers be provided to each student? Yes, we are asking families to complete an inventory for each of their children enrolled in the Lansing School District, which includes communicating the entire family's need for technology. Devices will be provided for each Lansing School District student in your household if needed. Questions from earlier forums today asked, will the device be collected when we return face-to-face? The answer to that question is yes. The device will still be able to be utilized by the student when we return face-to-face, because it will be the property of the Lansing School District. It will be housed upon return to face-to-face in the student's classroom. Will internet services be provided for families? We have been actively seeking out and working with internet service providers, asking that they honor our requests for heavily discounted monthly rates and or be able to provide internet service at no charge. We will provide an update when we have those commitments finalized, and we are confident that we will, either through those internet service providers or through hotspots and what I refer to as mega hotspots, where we will be able to install in specific areas across our city, so that hubs of neighborhoods and communities will be able to feed off of those hotspots. Will pre-K and kindergarten students be all screen to screen? The answer is yes. All, at this time, for student and staff safety, all students will be working screen to screen with their teachers. Our pre-K students, specifically in our GSRP program, they already have embedded through high scope an online platform for learning. So the transition to 100% online for them will not be a problem. For our incoming kindergarten students, we have been fortunate to have a very thriving and viable partnership with Michigan State University and WKAR, where every kindergartner in the Lansing School District the last 3 years have been issued a PlayPad, very similar to an iPad, which embeds applications for their early development and learning. So our kindergartners as well will have a very grade level, content-specific device to complete their screen-to-screen instruction. Will each student have access to and communication with the teacher? The answer to that question is yes. Students will be assigned to a classroom teacher just as if they were returning face-to-face. The platform that will be utilized is Google Classroom, and within Google Classroom Suite, there are special features such as Google Meet, wherein which the student will be able to, either in groups and definitely as individuals, be able to communicate with the teacher. On yesterday, when we had our forum with our instructional and our support staff, we did share with them that a non-negotiable is that each and every teacher will have a virtual classroom and virtual office hours. And so the communication component will be consistent. Students will also be able to communicate with their teachers through Student View. Parents will be able to communicate through Parent View. I did see come up in the chat, some parents are saying that they have not been connected as of yet and are not sure how to navigate Parent View and Student View. Please reach out to your school principal. You can also reach out to our Pupil Accounting and Central Enrollment Office to help you with the ID information and the instructions on becoming connected in our Synergy system so that you can adequately utilize both Parent View and Student View. What if a student has an IEP or 504 plan? We are committed to ensuring that every student will receive the support that he or she needs to be successful in our screen-to-screen environment. This obviously is very individualized and will look very different for each and every student depending upon the most recent approved and planned IEP and or 504. I believe that I see that Harmony Castillo, our Director of Special Education, is on with us this evening. Ms. Castillo, do you have anything that you would like to add to that as it relates to servicing our students that have IEPs and 504s?
Thank you, Dr. Chapman. We are currently working on a plan, and we would love to have parent input and community input on what that plan might look like. That information and input can be shared through the contact information on the special education department part of the Lansing School District website. And I will also enter it here in the chat for folks to have as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Harmony. I really appreciate that. And I know that you and your staff are working hard to make sure that we are in compliance and just in servitude to our students and their families, making sure that we are ready to execute learning according to their IEP and 504s. A very critical question, and we take to heart this question and are sensitive to it. What if the parents work and cannot be home? We have been fortunate as we began the work on tackling this question and this challenge that is associated with being 100% online. We put out the call to action, and we have had several community partners to step up and say that they are willing and ready to move forward with providing a child care environment coupled with learning through Learning Lab day centers across our city. We have not finalized those commitments and those partnerships, but I would like to duly inform our parent community this evening that those conversations are in the works. And as soon as we have those measures in place and what they will be, we definitely will push out that information so that you as parents can capitalize on that opportunity and be well set for the start of the school year to our first day, which is August 31st. Will the schedule be all day with no breaks? Absolutely not. Based on research, there is a specific ratio for every hour of screen time. There's an aligned amount of time for breaks and rest from the screen. And that rest is not necessarily meaning that the student is idle, but participating in other activities other than being on the screen. A schedule has been drafted and created. We need to make sure that we flesh out all the details with that. That is the reason why it is not being presented this evening. That proposed schedule that was presented to me today by our instructional team now has to be reviewed by the executive team so that we can make final decisions. The schedule will include breaks, meal times, and as stated earlier, the need for physical activity. In addition, the schedule will include whole group, small group, and individualized instruction as needed. There will be opportunities for art, music, physical education, social emotional learning, mindfulness activities, and many more, such as virtual field trips, virtual learning excursions, and guest speakers and demonstrators specific to career and just worldwide events, things of learning that are real world and keep our students connected and engaged to their environment. When we say that there is going to be non-screen time and that there's going to be a balance, our screen-to-screen instruction will be a combination of synchronous and asynchronous learning. Synchronous is exactly what it says. The learning is synced between the teacher or facilitator and the learning. That will incur a consistent communication or exchange of information between teacher and learning in a live scenario. So through the Google Classroom, through live chat, through platforms, and our platform will be Google Classroom. The asynchronous portion of that learning will be based around the model of I do, where the teacher is still giving some instruction, possibly through a fully recorded lesson. We do, where we're doing things together, and then you do, where the student is given the opportunity to work very independently. I know that parents possibly are concerned, well, what about project-based learning? What about language immersion and other special components of the Lansing School District? We as a district have elected where in which we will be providing those supports, especially when it comes to the immersion and the special types of projects and learning associated with that, along with project-based learning and research, and inquiry-based learning, where we will be providing hands-on materials during distribution of the devices and over the weeks of the first marking period so that our students are fully equipped to learn. How will I contact my child's teacher? As stated earlier, each teacher in the Lansing School District will be held accountable and will be able to make contact with families through a virtual office hours setting. I do realize and know that there are some schools in the past that have used things such as Remind, Class Dojo, Edmodo, and other various apps to make contact between school and home. Remember, the primary mode of communication and contact will be through our student information system Synergy, which is aligned and synced to parent view and student view. There will be some flexibility based on the apps that I just mentioned, but the expectation is that our administrators and our teachers are utilizing our Synergy system to have documented communication. Is attendance mandatory? Yes. Unlike how we started back in March during our continuity of learning plan, attendance is mandatory and will be taken as students log on through our Synergy system. Coursework is mandatory and will be graded. Will the classes be recorded if a student is absent? Absolutely. All classes will be recorded from the teacher's side only. No students will be recorded. Lessons will then be accessible to families for review at any time for their schedules and how the flexibility thereof. How will my student get their meals? In partnership with Sodexo Magic, our food service provider, and with Dean Transportation, meal distribution stations will be established throughout the city, throughout the district. We are working with our partners to ensure that all of our students, all of our learners will have access to free breakfast and lunch daily. As it relates to the screen-to-screen instruction and the materials that we will be providing to our students, Dr. Diaz, can you further share with our forum this evening how we are moving forward to provide those supports?
Thank you, Dr. Chapman. Yes, I am happy to do so. I've been frantically typing, so I just was finishing my sentence response. So first of all, just thank you again, everyone, for being here with us tonight. We truly appreciate you taking the time to participate with us and to put all of your questions and wonderings and suggestions and feedback into the chat box. As Dr. Chapman shared, we will be capturing this at the end of the meeting, along with the 2 from earlier in the day, and developing a substantial question and answer document for you so that you will have questions answered as we continue to flesh out this proposal. In terms of materials, I know something I was answering, people were concerned that when we reference both hard copy and online materials, that kind of that vision of the workbooks that we used during the continuity of learning plan came back into their vision, and that was a concern. That is not what we're talking about. We actually have student workbooks through our adopted curriculum of Go Math, Journeys at the elementary ages, and then collections for our secondary students. And those workbooks will be distributed to all of our students along with their devices. So they will have both workbooks and hard copy materials to utilize along with the online tools. In addition, it's very important that our students are able to continue doing things outside of what they'll be doing on the computers. So we will be providing every student with a learning materials packet. It may come in a backpack or a drawstring bag of some kind, but it will include such things as notebook paper, folders, markers, crayons, pencils, erasers, rulers, sharpeners, hopefully everything that you'll need to support your student as they're learning. We will make sure that those go to each person. We had in the spring a lot of donations from community partners, and we had some supply bags that were given out at our food sites, and there were not enough for every single family to receive those. However, this fall, with the device that your child picks up, or if they don't need a device when they come to pick up their workbooks, they will also receive the supplies so that each child will be guaranteed to have those materials to support their learning. In addition, as Dr. Chapman mentioned, our magnet theme schools, our immersion schools, STEM, STEAM, fine arts, Montessori, each of our schools right now, our principals and teachers, even though they're not back on contract yet, they are working already very hard to figure out how do we make this experience for our families as close to what they would have face-to-face as possible. And certainly there aren't going to be identical opportunities, but there are going to be many opportunities that help bridge that gap. So you may get additional packets of materials for project-based learning, outdoor activities, immersion activities. So those will be very school specific moving forward. Thank you, Dr. Chapman.
You're welcome, Dr. Diaz, and thank you so much for providing detail on those learning materials. There have been a couple of additional questions specific to learning materials and resources, quite specific to hard copies of textbooks and things of that nature. We did discuss that earlier today during our instructional team meeting. We are looking at the high school level for having an actual textbook distribution day or days. As it relates to our kindergarten through 6th grade students for math and ELA in particular, yes, there is a consumable workbook that all of our students will receive. As it relates to what they would receive as a hard copy book, we are fortunate with the curriculum that we have through our HMH Think Central for both Go Math and our Journeys for K-6 and our collections for 7-12. The actual textbook through the online Think Central component of those curriculums is actually online. So we won't have to distribute all of the textbooks because many of them, especially at the high school level, are online, and we know very specifically for K through 12, the math and the ELA textbooks are online. In addition to the textbooks and the materials that Dr. Diaz shared, we will be ordering student planners, and the student planners is not just for the student. We are utilizing that to help with to help parents keep track of what should be completed, as well as through Google Classroom the course syllabus, the assignments, a calendar, all of that is embedded to help us all get organized. As a mother of and grandmother of multiple children, I know what it's like to have a house full. And so I do want to respond to the question that came through. What will or what should live instruction look like when a family has children of multiple grade levels in the home? So there are a couple of scenarios or a couple of options in that regard. We are looking into providing headphones along with microphones, so a complete headset for those different type of scenarios. But think back in regards to what I communicated earlier, the synchronous versus the asynchronous. There possibly will be a need, I guess I will say, in working with your students' teachers. If you just say if there are 4 students in the home, possibly we would need to work out where 2 of those students are doing live in separate rooms with headsets, while the other 2 are possibly doing asynchronous work where they have independent study that they are working on from a workbook or from project-based learning materials, etc. So we are taking that into consideration as well. Several questions have popped up in regards to food distribution. Food distribution that occurred in the spring was set up at over 22 sites, and families were encouraged to come and pick up meals. What we are looking at doing for the fall during our screen to screen is actually coming to the communities and distributing that closer to our the residents of our families, so they are not trying to get to those particular distribution sites. As soon as we have all of that worked out, we will definitely communicate that out to our families. All of the questions, the wonderings that you have shared with us this evening are being collected through our chat, and then as an instructional team, we will be going through all of them, updating our FAQ, which as of today, as you saw, it's 1 page, but with the number of questions that we have collected just today alone, that will be a multi-page document, and that's not a worry. That's not of concern of ours. We want to answer every question that you have. We know and we believe that it is our responsibility to make sure that every stakeholder, especially our students and our parents, are duly informed. Saying that, I would like to inform our parents of the opportunity to be very acclimated to the platform that you and your student or students will be utilizing during our screen-to-screen instruction. Through a federal grant called the STAR Grant, which has nothing to do with the pandemic. We received this grant earlier in the school year. The grant focuses on transformation within a school system for improving community engagement, parent involvement, and overall social and emotional health for parents, students, and staff alike. So through the STAR Grant, we will be launching on next week an initiative that's very focused on our parents. The title of the initiative is Parent University. This initiative is not new within education. It started many, many years ago in Boston Public Schools, and it received national acclaim. We will have our first of several Parent University sessions on August 11th and on August the 18th. We will, through media and through our social media, be providing that information to all of our parents, and I'm strongly encouraging all of you, when those dates come out, August 11th and August 18th, whichever date works best for you, please be available for a 90-minute presentation on Google Classroom, the parent side of it all. During that session, we also will orient you, and for some of you, it may be a refresher on how to successfully navigate parent view and student view. We're very excited about Parent University, and obviously for the first few sessions, we want to focus on the screen-to-screen instruction and the remote learning. As we move throughout the school year, there will be several topics that is simply aligned to parenting and the success thereof for students in K-12 education. I'm excited, and there will be more information to come in that regard. We, at this point in time, have come to the end of our presentation and overview. We would like to thank you for all of the questions that have came in. Any and all questions that we did not answer directly this evening, we will be collecting those through the chat, and as stated, we will be updating our FAQ and posting that to our Lansing School District Reimagined webpage. Before we close, I would like to ask Mr. Sinacropi if there was anything that he would like to add that we may have missed on this evening.
Oh, I don't think we missed anything, but I want to compliment parents and other community members who are on the chat. I've kind of been watching the chat as you go through, and thank you, Ms. Diaz and Mr. Barnum and others who are answering questions as fast as they could. But this is why we do 3 or 4 of these things, because there are still many, many different questions that were asked tonight that haven't been asked yet today, believe it or not. So I commend you for that. Thank you for being part of this. You haven't heard the last from us, but make sure you take care of the student inventory. If you have any questions, I'm not sure if we said this or not. I know it was in one of the slides, but COVID-19@lansingschools.net. If you use that email, you certainly will find somebody that can that will respond to you. So once again, thank you. Thank you for the staff and for all of those behind the scenes that made this happen also. Dr. Chapman, back to you.
Thank you, Mr. Sinacropi. I would like to close out this evening saying thank you to the community and for your support. When this was unveiled on last Thursday, we know that it was a wow. Really, are we really going to be moving forward with this? I appreciate the support that we have received as a team, and for the personal outreach that many staff, community members, and parents alike have shown to me and to my staff. I would like to encourage you all to be safe and to continue to share your wonderings and your recommendations with us. And I would like to close by saying, we were the first. We are now noted in the state of Michigan, at least, as being the first school district that stepped up and stepped out and made a commitment based on health and safety to go 100% online. That's a nugget that I would like for all of us to cherish this evening. Do we have everything 100% figured out and worked out? Not right at this moment, but we are working around the clock to make sure that as we move forward and execute, we will be duly ready to service the children of the Lansing School District on August 31st. I bid you well. Enjoy the rest of your evening. Please look for further updates to come. Thanks so much for your support. Have a good evening.